When you are in business and you are an operator, you are doing what you do best. But if you're not paying attention to emerging technology around you that's real, something that's going to shift business in ways that we didn't even realize at that moment,
right?
Things are going to shift for you.
Right.
It's not about AI taking your job. It's about the people who understand how to use AI that will take your job. Now we're at this time frame right now where modern day business is going to change. And there's 4 elements that I'm going to be preaching to the world.
Seema Alexander, I'm so happy to have you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Christene.
Thank you for making space and time, and my gosh, thank you for being willing to come and have, just coming in and not even knowing what we're going to have. So thank you for being willing to have just the honest vulnerability and authentic conversation that I think you kind of anticipate.
I do. Anytime you have something going on, I know you're going to make me go deeper than I ever normally do, but I'm open for it.
I'm super grateful for that, because Seema, you have so much wisdom. And I really believe that wisdom is derived from lived experience, the true wisdom, the kind that it's deep and just an offspring of just a lot of experience and at times a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. And so I really appreciate you being willing to share that, because people need what you have. But before we dive in, who are you? Who is Seema Alexander?
Okay. Let's start with, I'm a mom, okay? I have 2 kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old, 2 amazing girls. I'm an entrepreneur. I would say a serial entrepreneur in many ways. I play 2 hats. I run and co-chair DC Startup and Tech Week, which is the largest entrepreneurial conference and community in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. We have a signature conference really trying to help become known the DC, Maryland, Virginia area as a global innovation hub and a startup ecosystem hub. And I'm the co-founder and president of Virgent AI. So we help companies move from what we were saying is AI curious to AI powered.
Love that.
Yeah, we are in one of the biggest technological revolutions of our generation and of our lifetimes.
Right.
You know a lot about me, but I'm very passionate about business and growth because of lived experiences and sort of the reality of what I know, not only what founders go through on a daily basis to bring innovation and sort of their outcomes into this world, but there is a really interesting moment in time we're all living in right now that has really good opportunities and little crazy ones as well. So we're going to talk a lot about all this.
Yes. I love it. Well, obviously there's so many places that you have your hands in right now. What is most exciting to you right now? Not just that it gets your passion boiling, but really there's a deeper why connected to the excitement that you feel.
Yeah. I mean, it is in the space of AI, and for me, the story goes that my parents, I'll give you a little background,
Please.
But for your community, my passion for business and sort of the reason I do what I do is because of my father and the legacy he left years ago. So there were immigrants from India, came here with nothing, one of those stories. Started the first Indian vegetarian restaurant called Siddhartha, catty corner to the White House. It grew to multiple locations. They actually opened a travel agency. They did a lot of what immigrants wanted to come and kind of create that life for themselves in the U.S. And for me, I started working when I was 12 years old. I was in that small business world, seeing all of it. But it went from doing really, really well to close to bankruptcy and closing in the 90s. And Christine, I was in my mid-teens. My parents ended up getting a divorce. My dad tragically passed a few years later.
Wow.
And it's crazy because I got sort of obsessed of maybe there's a couple of things that happened. Like I understood the path of an entrepreneur and sort of like, there's lots of ups and downs, right? There's also a lot of decisions that you make that some make a lot of sense at the moment, and then long term they may or may not. And I got sort of this like I wanted to learn like why businesses fail, why do they succeed? Kind of like not obsessive, but really intrigued. Like it is part of my own identity, I guess. Right?
Yes.
It's part of who I am. But why I brought that up in the first place in terms of when you asked me what I'm excited and passionate about, is because now I've realized that it wasn't just that moment in time where they may have made some poor decisions and this, that, and the other happened. It was also that it was the rise of the internet. And that was in the 90s, right? Like, and the rise of the internet changed the way we fundamentally do business.
Yes.
So what does that mean, right? Pre-internet, companies' businesses were brick and mortar. Right? There are a lot of obviously brick and mortars today, but there was no digital. There was no Google. There was no SEO. There was no Google ads or any ads online, right? And when you are in business and you're an operator, you are doing what you do best, which is execution and doing what you need to. But if you're not paying attention to emerging technology around you that's real, and something that's going to shift business in ways that we didn't even realize at that moment.
Right.
Things are going to shift for you.
Right.
And think about at that time, their competitors were paying attention. So from a restaurant side, that was one thing. My dad owned a travel agency, Kayak, Travelocity.
Yes.
Think about the newer innovations that occurred because of the internet that were never there. He was working for years but on analog systems, right? So for me, I'm excited, passionate about sort of sounding the alarm about where we are in this world of business and technology, but being really responsible about it. And I feel like I've had so many varied experiences over my life, and we'll talk about that, from industries to projects to businesses. Like I feel really well positioned to be a non-technical career person, but a long-term business strategist, growth person, to have this conversation and anchor people to understand where we are right now and unlock possibilities, unlock innovation in ways that they don't even realize right now, because or else honestly you will be left behind. We're at that moment in time.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's pretend that you've got the opportunity to talk to your parents. Let's say they've got the internet. Let's just assume that they're kind of at that stage where, they're like so many other people before they've moved into that next phase of incorporating what the tools that we're seeing in this new realm of possibility.
Sure.
And not just tools, but even methodology and mindset. And there's so much that goes into it before the practical application. What question do I even ask? I remember I was at Bitcoin Miami in 2022. Yeah. And people are always saying it's on the chain. And it's just, and I was like, okay, where is blockchain? Like, where is it? No one talks about that basic question. And I felt like an idiot. However, I needed to ask it, or else I would have continued on with, and frankly, not many people could answer me when I asked, where is the blockchain? Like, not many people could answer because so many people lacked the fundamental baseline understanding, because there's a fear of looking or feeling foolish. So backing up to this what is AI? What does that mean in terms of practical application, and or if it first requires kind of that mindset, speaking on that a little bit further.
So not the parents' question, this one is specific to AI?
Yes, and then the question of how would we address your parents? And you can speak about, the reason why I brought up your parents is because what even is it? Kind of getting that baseline.
100%.
Yeah.
For me, artificial intelligence is where machine and humans meet, right? Like machines are getting programmed to have the same ability are same and different abilities that human beings can do from a task-oriented perspective, eventually much more autonomous, which is, it's a very interesting, again, time frame to be in, because that sounds exciting and crazy at the same time.
Yes.
Right? And for me, artificial intelligence and machine learning have been around for over like 75 years. It's not a new concept,
it's not new.
right? But what, because of sort of my experiences advising a certain company, and we can go into a little bit of that, but this next wave when generative AI and large language models came out just in 2022, right? With the whole OpenAI, ChatGPT, generative AI is where you can actually take prompt something and create images and pictures and voice, and we'll give some real use cases as we continue on this conversation. But things are so much more accessible.
Yes.
Things can be so, we're at this really incredible time frame that, I think Sam Altman said, from a perspective on AI, say it's from 0 to 5. We're at like a 1.5 to 2, where I think now they're starting to play with reasoning. Like AI is going to be able to reason, right? That's a human skill.
Yes.
That's not normally a machine-driven skill, right? So I go back to, so to me, AI, machine learning, there's a lot of skill sets. It's not just like, hey, now we can create these insane automations. You could have done that before. But now you can create automations that have different skills that only AI could leverage. So from computer vision to intent recognition and we can talk about some use cases around what this even means. So fundamentally, it's just, this is what I say. It's like, think about, there's lots of use cases, but think about the things that take you so long to do, so laborious, right?
Right.
And they're so task oriented. They're so like the same old thing. It's like when people say, I hate my job because I keep, it's just boring, right?
Yes.
I keep having to do these same things. That's the perfect use case for an AI agent, for example, right? To be able to create workflows that will then open up human agency, your own agency, so that you can actually focus on the things that are much more creative, much more strategic, than not have to do the mundane.
Would it be a good and fair way to, because when you say workflows, it's for, I know what you mean, and we've got that set up on our end. However, for the person who that just doesn't really make sense, especially each business is so different. And so could it be that you take an SOP and turn it into an automation?
Yeah, and you can have, there are now systems that actually create your SOPs for you, which is also laborious to do.
They're the worst,
Yeah, so it's workflows are, again, it can go from the simplest workflow to the most complicated. And this concept of AI agents is where we're going to also very much specialize in, is going to bring a lot of this stuff to life. So let me give you an example. Say you're in real estate, okay? And you're in commercial real estate. And some of the things that you do is that you have to analyze a portfolio of properties. And there's multiple steps to do so. You have to get your market comps. You have to know, maybe there's like a box that in terms of like, this is what we're very good at as developers or what we're seeking. So the previous sort of use cases or things that actually worked really well for you. And there's multiple things that an analyst would need to do, for example.
Yes.
You can create and automate an opportunity where the internet gets scraped for this information. Then you can add in your own algorithms or your own sort of frame or prompts, for example, to help you get to that analysis that used to take like a month to do or a few weeks to do within minutes, right? And that's like the craziness is like, there's things that used to take so long to do.
Yes.
Again, you mentioned SOPs and stuff, but like ChatGPT alone, right? To me, that's just the foundation, or it doesn't have to be ChatGPT. There's lots of other language models, like Claude and Perplexity. There's multiple, but it's like, play with them.
Yes. Okay. So which one should people start playing with if they've never played with any?
I would do ChatGPT.
It's
just, they're all easy, right? Yeah. They're all easy. It really depends on what your need is. Because Perplexity, I like it because it has more of a research background to it. It showcases a lot of great references. but ChatGPT is catching up on some of that stuff too.
Okay.
But I think there's a couple things with ChatGPT. It's like write your own email, for example, where you're just like prompting something. I always put it back into that system. I'm like, can you refine this for me? Is there some way? But like make it personal, and like there's ways of prompting things where it's an art and science to prompt as well, right? You have to tell it sort of like the role you want, the tonality that you want. You know, you don't want like, you never want to sound cookie cutter, which a lot of these, you know, if you just put in something, most people don't realize that you can personalize and customize these content pieces that you receive. But one of the craziest use cases, just like it blew my mind. I think we were at a trade show maybe 6 months ago for Virgent, right? Okay. And we had all these people write their names and emails and phone numbers on a piece of paper. It was just like, well, whatever. We didn't have the iPad at that moment. And I came home with like
I love this.
8 pages. And I'm like, this is so annoying. Like, you know, I'm like, okay, we got to give it to an assistant or whatever. Think about it. They just sit there, I have to type everything, blah, blah, blah. Guess what I did, Christene? I took a picture. I took 7 pictures, actually. I put it in the ChatGPT. And I was like, can you put this in a spreadsheet for me? And it was 90% accurate. 90.
Huge.
Think about that.
Huge.
I mean, it's just those like little things. And that's not even like you creating something custom. That's what the technology... This little thing that would take you hours, and how annoying is it? Like, you know,
so annoying. I love that.
But it's just that, right? It's like you don't even realize the amount of time we waste on things that don't matter. And now all of a sudden, there's this technology, if you really start to understand it, to focus on things that like, wow, like I didn't even, like these are the things I've been wanting to do on my list. Like, you know.
That's, what a feeling of freedom, my gosh.
That's it.
Wow, we were talking about freedom last night at the Knowing Dinner, and it's like what are the things, but namely pick one that's holding you back from fully walking in freedom and living as though free. And gosh, the never-ending list. Like if we were to really check off a portion of that never-ending list, the mental freedom that would come from that. I mean, gosh, so much of my time is spent towards thinking about those menial little things. Oh, I've got to send this email. Oh, I've got to take the picture of the contacts from the networking event, put it in, or not take a picture, but I've got to write it out and follow up with everybody. And that's what I think is so powerful. And what I'm wondering is if it's fair to almost assume it can do it, and then maybe you'll be proven that you can't. But is that a fair assumption? Just kind of assume that it can do a task and then test it out, test the boundaries of ChatGPT.
The thing is, I mean, with the 4.0 or 4.0 whatever it is right now, right? Like, you could ask it to do whatever. You obviously want to check for accuracy, right?
Right.
But there's the back end of ChatGPT where you can create your own custom AI agents already in a very simple format. And that really means that you can program it to be your chief marketing officer for your company.
Yes.
You can upload a bunch of documents based off of your own, years of analysis, competitors, stuff that you've seen online, campaigns that you really like. And you just add a lot of context to this role that you're creating in the back end. And then you can use it to ask questions. Hey, we have this new product launch.
Yes.
And we have a new pricing strategy that we're really trying to think, like, you use it. Like, you can add in context about what chief marketing officers do for marketing agencies or whatever, right? Like, the more context you give it, then it becomes custom to you, right? And so workflows and customizations, I mean, there's definitely opportunities to, get help and, really think about things much more intentionally. But yes, play. It's the first thing I say. Because if you don't even realize, like, this stuff is on your fingertips, like, already. And it's like $20 a month for this level, right? Just amazing. There's so much more to be done, but
okay, so you're using it, obviously, on the business front. Are you using it much in your personal life?
In my personal life? I mean, like, when you're researching ideas of what to do. Like, it was funny because Google was my jam for years, right? I'm like, if I don't know, I Google it. Like, you know, it's just like, but like Google it didn't give me what I needed anymore. It just, the search was like off and stuff. So for the ideas I was seeking, the way I was seeking information, even when I'm like, all right, give me some ideas of what something fun to do in DC this weekend. Like, it's those things, right? Or put together an itinerary. I'm going to India and like, I want, you know, yes, I want to see family, but I want to go to the 5 top places in this particular region. So I'm not like on flights all day long. It will do that for you. And that's personal, right? It still takes you time.
Right.
But it was like, okay, like, thank you. Like,
yes.
You know, it becomes like, and this is, again, ChatGPT is just one element of what is happening in this world. I wanted to say something that you mentioned of like, okay, I have this to do, this to do. The future is going to be conversational. So it is going to be like, hey, can you set up that appointment, blah, 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 like with this person?
Love that.
Hey, you know, we're running a little bit late with the podcast. Can you text Seema really quick? Like, it's that.
Wow.
Those are the intentional flows that will be put in place. Some of them are going to be standard features in your iPhone or whatever you have, right?
Yes.
It's completely standard. And some of them you're going to be much more intentional with your everyday.
Right.
But the stuff that gets innovative, like innovation, that's the stuff that we like working on. Like, that's a whole other ball game because now you're starting to open up like outcomes with predictive analytics, right? Using your own data, figuring out unique tastes. I have so many things to say because you're into marketing, because like, marketing
I love this.
it's going to go from right now we're like one to many, right? It's like, all right, what's the best campaign? Like, what do we think we can optimize? The best conversion rates? What are the competitors doing? All those things.
Yes.
In the future, it's going to be one-to-one. The messaging that is going to be able to be delivered to your thousands and thousands of customers, it'll be individual to them because you have the data. You have the data, then the systems, and this is when I talk about innovation, right? Like, the systems are going to be created where, say, all right, Sarah bought these particular products in these times and this date. We're going to give her this particular message. That's what the AI is going to do for you. David, he never bought from us, and we're going to do this. And those messages are going to be so unique to the individual. And that is profound. You have to think about, like, you know, things are shifting.
And to your point, we've already got so much of that now with what they are able to do. It blows my mind. Yeah. Like, especially pulling from US Census data and being able to segment audiences that way. One of our AI partners does that, and they have 88 different persona types, and they took our entire customer database and segmented them and then showed on a graph of like, okay, this group, this type of personality, and they even searched on the social media side too. So like, how do they talk about themselves? What topics do they talk about on social? What restaurants do they go to? I mean, it's just buying habits based on US Census data, and then showing us doing a match back to our customers and being able to show us like, this type is actually your highest and best customer, and you only have, out of your entire customer base, it's only 1%.
Yeah. So this is data. Let me give you another example in sales now, right? So I was on my podcast, I was talking to the CEO of University Startups, and they have a whole programming strategy to help with underserved children. Not children, they're probably middle school, high school, with programmatic, career-driven pathways, all right? Really incredible work that they do. They have partnerships with major universities all around, changing people's lives every day. Anyway, so their CTO created an AI agent specifically to help with sales sentiment. So sentiment. Okay?
Interesting.
So this is, again, AI skills. This is an area that I know a lot of people need to be educated. To your point, like, where's the blockchain? Like, AI is such a big word. Web3 is such a big word. What the hell does it even mean? Or what does it mean to me for the problems that I'm trying to solve, right? So one of the big problems is, all right, yes, you have 1,000 leads, awesome. Like, you know, and, you know, you're in any business, you're on the phone with these leads. Like, what are some of the intonations and voice? What are some of the gestures this person's doing? What is the way that they're speaking? You can tell if they're bought into the concept or not. This is what this AI agent is doing for them while they're on the phone with this individual. So the 1,000 people they speak to, they're like, this is the 15 people that will close. Go after them. Think about that.
Wow. What tool is this?
It's their own.
It's their own. They built this. Okay.
It's their proprietary AI agent. This is what I'm telling you, right?
Yeah, you have the ability to create these agents.
You have the ability in a responsible and safe way to create agents to help support you in activities that you didn't even like, and the part of this is part of it is like people don't understand what's possible today.
Yes.
They don't understand how to create, these things, and they need help. You need help, right? A lot of times. So helping identify what's the highest impact, highest value, ROI wise, lowest effort opportunities that are solving real business problems. Do not use AI just to use AI.
Yes.
This is not how many companies I know are saying, hey, yeah, we use AI. And I've had multiple conversations with managing partners and all these. They're like, we have to say it for the marketing purposes, but they're not really using it or knowing how to. And that's a problem because it's not going to give you a competitive edge for any time, much longer, So it's an interesting, I don't know, for me, it's like AI is infrastructure technology. You have to learn it and educate yourself so you can really work through what is the best ways to use this technology that's going to give you not only that productivity gains, but give you a competitive edge.
Right.
From a sense of like data is going to be currency now going forward. How do you use that to support your customers different, to create unique experiences like you've never been able to create before?
I love that. The experience piece, right? Because it's so much about fulfilling the entire customer funnel.
Yes.
On the marketing side, so often we think about how do we get leads and how do we get customers, but so often we forget about the fulfillment and how can we use AI to blow them away after they've converted.
Correct.
And then turn them into our greatest evangelists because we're speaking to them with such intentionality and creating such an experience. I think what's really powerful is when you can tie in the AI with traditional experiences and traditional experiential marketing.
Yeah.
Because if we were to send them a physical gift while having it be powered by an AI tool that is doing all the speaking and engagement throughout the entire time, but then they actually get something in the mail that's custom to them and who they are, like, man, that's... Talk about blowing away with an experience.
100%.
I love that.
No,
I think that's so brilliant.
Yeah, I know experiences are going to be, I'll give you an example here too. And some of this is possible now, some of it will be in the future, right?
Yes.
So when you think about traditional chatbots on your, like when you're on a website.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So today when you are using a chatbot, mostly they are programmed prompts by questions that are put in an Excel spreadsheet and uploaded. Like how many? See, again, poor person who had to do this job to come up with 1,000 questions that potentially customers are going to ask.
And then if they say the conditional logic,
that whole logic, right?
Yes.
And that's somebody's job, right? And so now in the AI-enabled sort of chatbots can not only, they'll be able to actually scrape information from your websites, the things that customers are asking most, like actually get you to that right answer way faster than saying, hey, is it one of these 3 questions? And if you click on this, is it one of those 3 questions? And you're like, you're not answering my question. Like, you're taking me down a rabbit hole where my experience sucks. Like, and I'm like, and at the end of the day, I just want to talk to somebody or just get me to their right answer.
Right.
There's another level, and this is funny because I was like on the Intuit website and I was like, ugh, it was like a MailChimp thing, whatever. I was like, this is so annoying. But think about when the internet crashes, right? Or you're like in your customer service line or some like your phone or something like gets clicked off, right? And then you have to start all over. There's no continuity in like the memory, right? With AI, there will be continuity.
What a good point. I've never thought of that from the customer perspective.
Oh yeah, Christine, like think about it. Then eventually it's going to be like, hey, Christene, I know you're in Virginia right now. It's a little cold outside. You get a coat on. I mean, it's that sort of that. But on top of
terrifying and exciting.
It's terrifying and exciting. But it's on top of that, it's going to be say, hey, I know last week you came on the site and you were having this problem. Are you still having that problem? It's multimodality. Hey, I'm on the website, or I'm calling you on the phone, or I'm on their X. And they know who you are, right? Scary, yes.
Yes.
Privacy important. Doing it right and responsibly, yes. Will the technology get there? Yes. Is it there now? I don't know, but it will, right? But it's like almost like freeing feeling. Like I don't have to do all the dials, and they know who I am, and they're going to solve my problem faster. Think about that customer experience compared to where we're at today.
Yes, I love that. So when it comes to, you mentioned operator earlier, with the roles of, especially when you're talking about small business. So let's talk about small business, medium-sized business, those two specifically. So when it comes to these size of businesses, what role would you say is chiefly or should be chiefly responsible for exploring these emerging technologies?
So it's interesting with I just did an analysis, or two things that I just recently did. An analysis of like what small businesses are thinking about AI and how they're using it, medium size and then enterprise, right?
Okay.
So when I think about small businesses, I think about the $20 subscriptions, right?
Yeah.
Like it just makes sense, right? From a chat GPT to if you have a podcast, you're using Opus Clips to clip your stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different generative AI, really great tool sets out there. But there's nobody helping you optimize to really understand, like, here are your workflows, here are the things that you should be using these particular, call it the new AI-enabled tech stack, right? And I just did a talk with a pretty large group of online business managers. And online business managers normally support sort of leadership coaches. A whole space is a space of coaching, which is $1 billion industry, right? And so what I was sharing with them, and I was like, your role is going to fundamentally, you have an opportunity to make your role fundamentally change, where you can help enable these small businesses to understand how to use this technology the right way. Because the truth is, like, they also need help. They don't know they need help. Small businesses don't have a lot of money to spend either, right?
Right.
But online business managers are sort of in that role to support, help you scale in multiple ways. But they help identify the operational tool sets as well as the marketing tool sets that are optimized for your business, right?
Right.
So if they were to, two things, really play and understand, all right, here's the industries we're going after, here are the best AI-enabled tools today as they evolve, and they will, and help educate their folks from that, because they're not all leadership. Some people I know work in construction, or just like online business managers, really just helping you develop your online strategy, your digital components. They can manage the ads, they can manage your virtual assistants, all the things, right? So it actually works in multiple industries. So I think that, like, to me, that fundamentally, as a small business, to start using, but get the help and support to help you optimize, because that's what I always feel like is the missing moment in time, right? And then there's the customization of your own AI agents or whatever. From the medium-sized business, this is actually where it's really interesting and sort of a target of ours, because I think they're at a point where, okay, I get it. AI is important.
No more convincing necessary.
No more convincing. Education, still tons needed.
Right.
I'm still not fully understanding where we're at. Still not fully understanding what's possible, how to mitigate the risk. But they're like, okay, so are you telling me that I have to create these hundreds of thousands of dollars of custom stuff, or what can I do in the interim? Like, now what? That is like and it's a perfect place, because if you think about like enterprise level grade people, most of them have something called COT solutions. They go after, like, they're already partnered with AWS or Microsoft, or, they have the big sort of partnerships in place, which then they also already have some AI tool sets.
Right.
No one gets fired for saying, hey, we're going to use Salesforce in our organization versus an emerging technology that may or may not work, right? So from an enterprise level, and there's other things on enterprise that are happening, but medium-sized businesses need that guidance right now, right? They need to understand, I mean, there's real opportunity to do discovery in both your functional and operational areas to see what is the highest AI, highest impact, highest ROI, lowest effort, as I was mentioning. What are those even opportunities that are going to fit and align to the big pain points within your organization, to your business goals that you have strategically, and where you then, as you understand the technology, then you can also open up innovation in ways that you've never opened up before. And then you build. You actually prototype and you test, making sure this technology actually not only works, but it's something that's solving the problem. And then you get to build. A lot of people will just go in and try to do big projects, like try to boil the ocean, Christene. 65% of those projects fail, if not more. And they spend a ton of money, and that's not how it should be done.
So really for the small businesses, use the tools that already exist and create your own custom agents. And then for medium-sized businesses, do the prototype, do the analysis first, then do the prototype testing, and then build.
And think about
build your own.
Yeah, build your own, but it's bigger than that, because in the medium-sized business, there's governance issues, right? There are governance requirements. Like, they don't even have AI governance. They haven't thought about the privacy policies around this stuff. They haven't thought about how employees are going to react to, because in the beginning, with AI, not even the beginning, right now, there's a lot of uncertainty with employment with AI. People are scared, right? Rightfully so, right? But I don't know if I'm sure you're familiar with the CEO of NVIDIA, right? Jensen Huang. NVIDIA is the number one AI company, creating all the chips and doing a lot of, they're gonna be I don't know, they're bigger than Apple, bigger than everybody right now. It's pretty crazy to watch. But, him and many visionaries, and now I say it all the time too, it's like, it's not about AI taking your job. It's about the people who understand how to use AI that will take your job.
I'm so glad you said that. Because in terms of the who in these medium size, so the smaller companies, I think that you answered, you answered that really well. But for the medium sized companies, it's almost like if you work in this department, it's your responsibility to understand AI. Because the marketing team's going to use it so differently than HR, than sales, so everyone needs to take responsibility of their department. And then, talk about job security, understanding how to use the tool like the back of your hand. That's actually the security for your job, not the replacement of your job.
There's a couple of things to think about there, because I think in medium-sized businesses, you need that top-down and bottoms up. So let me explain it. So top-down, you need alignment on a leadership level to even understand, how are we going to leverage AI in our organization? So I have a couple that we're working on right now, where it's I always say start internal operations first. Don't do customer facing initially, right? Because you want to be able to test the automations and things internally, feel good about it. Get your employees to understand that this is an opportunity, not something that's just all the negativity around it. You need to shift the mindset. There's work to be done internally as you're looking to build for external, right? And I think, yes, you're right. Functional areas are going to use them in different ways, but it has to be cohesive, or else you're going to start doing the whole silo thing all over again. Right? We have to learn from our past, right? Think about digital transformation, all the legacy systems that we created in the past, right? And corporations, the digital age, even it's still going on, digital transformations, right? And how many companies hinder their own innovation because they're stuck on legacy systems. You don't have to do that right now with AI. If you're using the newer age infrastructure, if you're really doing it intentionally. But it takes investment and making sure you have the right experts to guide you, and the right sort of outcomes that you're really trying to focus on. So
yes, what a good point about silos. I'm so glad you said that, because that's exactly what we want to break away from. Because what you're doing over here could really be so beneficial if we pulled the thread through. When we start working with businesses, we just do it. And we've talked about this before, and I believe you do the same thing, just really doing a deep dive at every single level of the business, the entire, every single department. Because so often the right hand's not talking to the left hand and we're missing out from what the other person's doing. So then that begs my question of, is it better for, like, how would you go about identifying and doing this analysis and then coming together? Is it having somebody go in, like a single person or two or three, or is it individuals in the departments themselves and then they come together and collaborate? Like, how do you guide companies in terms of how they do the analysis?
Well, I mean, that's what we do.
Okay,
right?
so you guys would come in and do it.
100%.
Okay.
Because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Like, the thing is, like, for us, there is also, like, again, AI and ML have been around a long time. There are a lot of folks in the traditional sense of the word, and there is this new level of infrastructure that has been created over the last couple of years, and that's what we're excited about. And that's the stuff that I think will take companies to a whole other level, but they don't know what they don't know. They don't know foundationally what AI can actually do for them. What the analysis allows us to do is say, where are the pain points from, you know, blockers in your automation, or like where are the things the tedious things that you do that are taking a lot of time and a lot of effort. But, you know, think about, like, in the insurance space, like creating certificates of insurance. One of the companies that we're talking to, they're like, we do thousands a day. That used to be a manual process.
Yes.
Now they outsource it, but they would love an automation for it, right?
Yes.
It's like these things that could take seconds.
It's
take days.
One of our clients did robotic process automation, and they specifically went after government employees, and we called it swivel chair tasks.
Yeah.
You know, just like those repeat things that you're just doing every day, and it's going to take so long. I mean, talk about elections.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, gosh.
I know. I want to capture one thing before we get to elections, because the other thing with analysis is data. So there's this, I have a framework of the new modern day business, like, you know, but data is going to be, without data, like, everything is going to be driven by data, right? And there's this external data, syndicated data will come into play. That's going to be a huge game changer, and we can talk about that. And and I want to get into precision medicine and all this stuff. But internally, the proprietary data that you have today, years ago, like, you know, getting unstructured data was really hard to actually convert that into something that was meaningful.
Yes, right.
Now there are processes that can not only take your structured data, but your unstructured data, put it in a lakehouse structure is what they're calling it these days, right? In a way that now you can use that data to make informed decisions. So now, you know, you and I don't know, I'm getting into unique method, but, like, my whole point of everything I've done when I reposition companies was, like, it's not about making assumptions anymore.
Yes.
Use the data to create informed decisions. And that is what AI allows you to do, both on a, yes, this is exactly what's happened, and then at a predictive fashion. And then that allows you to be much more strategic and intentional with you know, your decision making, your workflows, your strategies, how to really get that competitive edge in the marketplace. All the things, right? So data is it's the new currency, the new gold. It's everything, and you need to do that right. You need to do that right. Yeah.
So obviously, going to you, Virgent AI is going to be the fastest and most sure way for any company, but specifically the medium-sized company. I'm like, man, if you've got the budget, you have to go. You have to do this. Because to your point, it's the highest impact in the easiest way. Like, let's go after those first. So I love that. Go ahead.
No, highest impact, highest ROI. People, like, you know how businesses are, right? Like, they need that return on investment, or else they can't sell it up. And so it is the highest impact and highest ROI, because you want to be able to see that return in your investment. If that means less time spent from FTEs on this particular job, if that means fundamentally getting more profits in the company. I mean, that means a lot of things, right? But it's an important factor to make sure you incorporate when you're starting to do these things, especially if you don't have alignment on the top, right? Like, people need to see that, like, all right, this is real. Oh my God. I always say this is my favorite thing. I love giving people aha and oh shit moments at the same time. Aha and oh shit moments.
I love that.
Yes. It's like, what did you say we could do?
Their mouths like open for both reasons.
They're like, we will have, you know, and that to me, if I can walk out with multiple aha moments.
That's so good. What's your favorite, like one or two? Because I want this, you know, I really want it to be actionable for folks who are listening. You know, like, man, I'm going to go try this, or I'm going to go ask this question of my team, or ask this question of my business. What like lead us into your two favorite aha moments, or a tool, you know, your top two. I know you said ChatGPT and Perplexity were the easy ones to like get started.
Yeah.
But what's something super actionable if you could teach us?
Yeah. Actionable for what? What are we trying to solve for? I guess let me ask you that.
Let's start at the high level where people are really, let's start with the medium-sized companies, since that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And it's for the executive who they know they need AI.
Yes.
They know.
Yeah.
But it's almost just like so overwhelming. Yes, they could schedule a consultation with you.
Yes.
Or, you know, the first step.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the first step in anything when it comes to technology or anything new for a company is understanding what are the biggest pain points that you're having right now, right? And I think as a first step, if I was an executive, I would really start to think about operationally, like, where are bottlenecks? What are these tedious things that like, because that's the simple things that can be done. And I don't like using the word simple, you know, I don't want to use that in that way, because there's a lot of programming and a lot of things that have to occur for some of the stuff. But strategically, that's the first thing I would think about, is like all these things that are taking us too long, taking our people away from being truly productive, you know, getting all these complaints in HR because they're like, this sucks. This process sucks, right? And in the past, you would have people come and literally do process mapping work, right? And then there would be certain sort of automations, but AI agents, which is going to be the future of business, can really shift and change the way that we do automations going forward. But I think it's just like if it was me, I would literally be every day, like, what are some of our blockers? What are our bottlenecks, right?
Yeah.
Then I would do another column of like, what if we could?
Start dreaming.
Start dreaming. What if we could, right?
I'd love that.
I think that is another really interesting thing. But before that, I would say they would need some education, right? Because I think that's a fundamental thing with leadership, right? And we can talk campaigns and government and policy in a few minutes, but like, it's like even getting to the baseline of saying, wow, like I didn't even know this was possible. So it's one thing, yes, play with ChatGPT and these generative AI tools.
Yes.
I gotta tell you a fun one in a few minutes. But it's also like, do the work, do your own research, like start to really see what the use cases have been, not only in your industry, but others, to get that like inspiration, like, you know?
Yes.
I mean, medicine. I'm going to give you another couple use cases, because this is like, you know, aha moments. Like for me, I just ran with Rachel Koreski our DC Startup Tech Week, right? Which is it was an amazing 5-day conference. But the night before, I had this run of show, and I was like, all right, guys, this person, when they walk up, I want this music, and I want this music, like, you know, you have Taylor Swift and Eminem. Like, I just want to have some fun, right? Because, you know, anything to do with production, music brings people together. It's like really fun.
Absolutely.
And then our head of marketing, she goes, you know, Seema, you can't. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you don't have the licenses for that. And I was like, I was like, can't we just get away with it? What's the problem here? She's like, you're live streaming, you know? And she's like, you're going to get a ton of fines. And then our head of production was like, she's right. Like, you could get hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fines.
Wow.
And I was truly devastated, because I was like, it's what brings the energy in a room. And, you know, literally my older daughter was like,
It was the night before.
And my older daughter's like, Mommy, I want you to walk out with Fiend. Like, you know, I was like, I got you. You're in the audience. I was like, you know, it was like that fun stuff. Anyway, so what was really fun, Natty Langford, who's my Web3 buddy, like her and I are part of the Gary Vee community together, and like every conference we go to get, like she's actually in Virginia here. And it's really interesting because she's a realtor by day and like a Web3 guru at night, like amazing. But she had a tool, this is an AI tool called Suno, right? And Suno, basically you can prompt it to create your own music.
I love that.
And I wish I had prepped this because I want you to hear what I did. But she was prompting and I was like, listen, like she's like, all right, we'll create something for DC Startup and Tech Week. And so she put this thing in and blah, blah, blah. And literally within 5 minutes, Christene, it was this fun reggae beat. It was like DC Startup and Tech Week. And it was just so hype. And I was like, oh, it was an aha moment.
Wow.
Where I was like, I'm going to use this at that right time tomorrow when I'm talking about this track, like, and to show people that like, wow, like here was a problem that I had and I just solved it within 5 minutes because it's my license now because it's brand new. Like no one owns it but me.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so cool. Okay, well, I'm gonna if I can get that music from you, I'll put together a little compilation for this section of the podcast. I love that. Yeah. And we ran into a similar issue for the Knowing podcast because it's like, what music do you have? And so we ended up creating our own just background music. But how fun and talk about having a strong brand.
Yeah.
Having custom music to back up your name, your style, your vibe. My gosh, that's a whole other level of brand development, you know? That's amazing.
Yeah, I want to talk about the modern day AI framework for business, right? Because this is something that I'm about to put out a thought paper on this as well. Because business is fundamentally going to change. It's fundamentally going to, just like, you know, when we had the rise of the internet, we saw, you know, the newer companies like Google and Amazon and Netflix and all these newer worlds collide with the emerging technology and, you know, where it went. But then companies like Blockbuster and Kodak and Yellow Pages and you name it died on the vine because they weren't paying attention. They didn't know how to re-innovate themselves. Right. Toys R Us. I mean, you saw it, right? We saw so many amazing
the companies
brands.
of our childhood are gone, which was so sad. But they couldn't innovate.
They couldn't innovate. They didn't have the foresight.
Yes.
Right? Like I remember literally talking to the CMO of Kodak years ago at this conference I went to, Brand Manage Camp. And he was like, Kodak missed the whole digital, they just missed it. They missed it, right? Like, and so now we're at this time frame right now where modern day business is going to change. And there's 4 elements that I'm going to be preaching to the world, right? You know, and one of the things just to keep in mind, I do a lot of screening for accelerators and other programs, the startup space, right? And a lot of these screenings now, when it comes to like a Techstars, for example, trying to get in, 8 out of 10 of the businesses have AI first frameworks. Just keep that in mind when I'm going through this, right? Now, what does that mean? That means like they're not all thoughtful. Some of them are ChatGPT wrappers, but they're thinking about it. They're going into creating new startups with an AI framework in mind. Now, you're already a business out in the marketplace. And if you're not starting to think about this stuff intentionally, guess what? The things that happen to Blockbuster and Kodak, these are real things, right? Even Google has some issues going on right now, right? Like, and so in the 4 sort of elements of the modern day framework, when it comes to business, AI framework, like, you have to have very smart, intentional, using AI enabled softwares, AI agents, really thinking about automation, predictive analytics, unique customer experiences, like, you know, literally doing the whole shebang. It's a really, you have to use AI. That's like number 1. 2 is data is your currency. It's the gold. It will be everything. Right?
So good, Seema.
And it's such an important thing to step back and really start to say, okay, what's the proprietary data that we've had? Again, using proprietary, you know, GDPR, all the things, being very compliant and responsible about this data. But now that data is going to allow you to create unique customer experiences for your people, to create a competitive edge, to give them better service, better products, better solutions that they're seeking, right? It's just thinking about it in that way. And then once you start adding syndicated data or other sets, and I'll give you an example of this after in sort of this precision medicine side of where we're going to go with AI, which medical is going to change.
I'm so excited for you to chat about that.
So excited. The 3rd piece of the modern day business framework is humans will always be in the loop. And I say this in a way of like, it is, again, going back to our previous conversation, AI will bring agency to humans like we've never seen it before. But we're at the stage right now where humans, there will be autonomous agents that they're going to be autonomous. Like, that's a whole other part of the conversation. But when you bring in humans and machines together, it's a very powerful combination at this level where machines can take you. And so it is, please make sure fundamentally you understand how to use the tooling and use it to your benefit so that you can make these informed decisions. You can get more creative, more strategic, more intentional, right? And the fourth, which I know you're going to love.
Very excited.
Brand equity is everything. So
wow,
there is hot dog, all the things. There is a general narrative out in the market that AI is really smarter than humans. It's going to become, right? Brand's not going to matter anymore. I know you're smiling too, right? And I'm like, no, I call bullshit.
Yeah.
Brand is going to matter more than anything, because if you have those other pieces, an AI framework, you're using your data properly to make those informed decisions, you have humans in the loop. Your brand, at the stage where it's going to matter is where you have a brand that's proven, that you've really created the outcomes that you say you've created. You've repositioned it so that you're standing out more than others. That's the cherry on top. Those are the companies like the Googles and the Netflix and the Amazons that are going to stand out in this very AI-driven world. So to me, these are the fundamental core focuses of the future of the modern day. So I'm curious from you, from a brand perspective.
Seema. Well, I love where we've gone with this conversation. Frankly, this is the first conversation on the Knowing podcast where it's solely business. Knowing business. I love it. We'll do part 2 with you. The soul behind AI, right? But from the brand perspective, I completely agree, because we're still selling and engaging with the human being. And the being is, the soul, spirit, and physical self. And so if we would just sacrifice that and risk sacrifice of the brand that is ultimately the AI is the conduit. And the brand is really the talk about the human being. It's the soul behind the AI. The AI is facilitating the physical engagement, but it's the soul of the brand that's being ushered throughout every single tactic the AI is providing.
Yeah, and to bring it home to the Knowing podcast, we're talking about the soul of your business right now. Yeah. Right? Because without fundamentally understanding who you are, what you do best, and where you want to go. Now, when you have that, and now you start to use AI in ways that are really going to unlock things for you. Yes. That's a game changer. Yes. And people's identity is based in their business. Yes. That's a whole other.
For better or for worse, right?
Yeah, I know, for better or for worse. So there's a lot of soul in, getting this right in different ways, or attempting to get it right, or you're going to learn through the process.
Yeah. Well, and a Harvard business study found that 95% of consumers make decisions in their subconscious, which is where the emotions live. And so the thought of displacing the human element from the equation and displacing the soul from it, gosh, that could be the most detrimental thing a business might do. Yeah. So.
And it's interesting, most leaders think, okay, we have AI, so 30% of our FTEs we can go, and that's not the way you're thinking, because the people who are your core people probably have the most data about your company. Right. And you need to focus on what's that next phase. If we can open up the superpower by automating, say, the first level of customer support, would they be really good salespeople? Would they be great? Think about it in that way. Don't jump to reduction, because you're going to miss out on the people who know you best. And that's a loss for AI.
That's so good. A friend of mine, she actually is an employee at one of our businesses that we're fractional CMO for, and she got laid off after 26 years because they were bought by private equity, and it was obviously so sad for her. However, the relationships, the loyalty, the data, to your point, but all surrounding her and her presence in that company, with even among the employees themselves, nothing to do with the customer. Yeah. Like you lose. If you think about a house, you're losing a beam, a core beam in the building. Mm-hmm. And so I love thinking about people that way, not so much as just pieces to trade. And, it's not a transactional relationship. Like, okay, what's a better AI tool?
Yeah.
So I love that. And to your point about these companies, these big brands, I would anticipate that they never dreamed. They were unshakable.
Yeah.
They were at the top.
They were the top.
They were the top. And to your point about AI, it's not just about understanding now, it's about prediction. Mm-hmm. And so being able to really understand that AI is for 100% the present, using the past to the present to inform what we're doing today and the prediction for the future in our own businesses. It is the future, and it empowers us to predict and dream for the future of our businesses ourselves. So I love that. That's so important.
So can we get personal with the precision medicine piece of this?
Yes.
So part of my why I'm excited, at 36 and 41, I've had 2 pulmonary embolisms, right? Blood clots that went from my calf to my lungs, I've almost died 3 times in my life, right?
Seema.
Changes perspective for multiple reasons. But with AI and what is about to happen with precision medicine, what?
Chills.
Like it is because I know people who are fundamentally looking at the data. A lot of the data that's on the ranges of medicine today are based off of European men, white men, right? So I know folks who are heavily focused on curating data, getting the data about Black and brown people throughout the world. And what does that look like? Because there's a lot of health discrepancies and disparities because we actually don't have the right data.
We literally don't know.
We don't know. So what makes sense from, cholesterol for you is very different from cholesterol from a South Asian. Like, it's just different. And our environments are different and sort of our generational DNA is different, right? It's genomics at the end of the day, right? So Indigenius is this one particular name. It's always fun for me because I get to see what's happening on the innovation side and then also translate it into other parts of the business. But in general, precision medicine is going to be a thing. It goes back to like what is right for you is right for Christene. What's right for Seema is right for Seema. The medicines that I'm going to take in the future, they'll be able to know like that's actually something that's going to work for you. That won't it's not this like blanket. I mean, it's going to take time and obviously regulations and approvals, right? But and then the level of patient outcomes and service will get that much better over time. But I'm really excited to see where AI plays in the side of precision medicine. It's going to be really cool to see.
Seema, we need to schedule an episode 2 with Seema because that you just opened a whole can of worms when it comes to, I think in summary, it's AI powers our knowing of our bodies, our knowing of our businesses, our knowing of even relationships. I recorded a difficult conversation that I had with someone this past week and I put it into ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT to do an analysis and tell me where I was inconsistent and to tell me where I need to perhaps clarify. I also asked it to reveal to me my values. I had done some of this work. Well, I had actually done a lot of work in preparation for this conversation, and anything that causes anger in us reveals our greatest values so often at the time, and wounding, obviously, but so often wounds are the propelling agent to the cultivation of values. And so I asked it to do this summary for me, and it came back and it was a good objective. Can't get more objective than an AI agent. Yeah. And it came back with this third-party objective view of how I can grow. Wow. And it was amazing. And so please come back to the Knowing Podcast. But for now, thank you so much for everything you gave. I mean, I feel so much more excited to go back into my business and for our clients, and just really start doing the work. And I'm excited to talk with you personally about using Virgent AI because I know that we need you. So. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you for having me. I know we were supposed to get super vulnerable, and I'm open to all of it, Christene. Just this was the conversation we were supposed to have. Thank you so much for your time. Of course. Thank you. Grateful.